right, we're going to be in between systems for the next 24 to 36 hours, but then we've got plenty to talk about once again with another winter storm tracking our way during the tail end of the week. Not a big snow producer, but ice is going to be a big-time concern. On Weather for Weather Geeks this evening, let's first review where we've been today. And it's, of course, been a rainy April-like day, very mild, but it was soggy, especially early this afternoon. Some actual rain gauge numbers. Ignore a couple of bad readings here and there, but generally all these are pretty good. And we're talking about an average of about a half an inch worth of rain across the area today. So this went pretty much as expected. That was generally our forecast, half an inch to maybe 3/4 of an inch or so. Earlier in the week, it looked like we might get closer to an inch, but the models backed off some of those loftier ideas over the last couple of days. Now, we've had enough rain, of course, that the already kind of swollen rivers and streams and creeks have taken on more water today, and no surprise, we have a flood warning out right now for Eagle Creek near Braceville in Trumbull County. We're running at about 9.5 feet. Flood stage begins at about 9.5 feet. Now, we're not going to see much in the way of an additional rise, it looks like, overnight tonight, so any issues here should be relatively minor. As of a couple of hours ago, the Mahoning River at Levittsburg was at a little over 10 feet. Now, flood stage here begins at 12.5 feet. We're going to maybe crest just shy of that, I should say, but it'll be a close call. And again, minor issues. Nothing like we had last week, but still, everything's running just a little bit high once again this evening. Our steady rain from earlier is now gone. A couple of showers will pass through from time to time over the next handful of hours. Now, we may not have reached our high temperature yet for the day. As of this recording at 7:27, we're up another notch to 58 degrees. We might touch 60 before the evening is through. It's very balmy out there, but you know what's going on to our west. Mondo cold front out across central Indiana. You go from 58 in Cincinnati to 45 in Indianapolis to 27 in Chicago. This colder air is marching east, and the cold front will arrive by daybreak tomorrow in eastern Ohio and western PA. Again, a couple of showers will be around maybe through about 2 a.m. These should be gone by tomorrow morning, and tomorrow is going to get off to a more typical late February start with temperatures closer to the freezing point. Now, it's going to be kind of a gloomy Wednesday. Maybe we'll get a little sun trying to work in the afternoon. Not counting on a lot of it, but the sky may brighten some in the afternoon. Now, as we've been talking about this week, during the daylight hours Thursday, there might be a passing flurry. That's about it. Actually, a little filtered sunshine will try to work in, I think, on Thursday with seasonably cold temperatures. The issues start ramping up as we go into Thursday evening, a couple of hours or a few hours after sunset. Here's a snapshot at about 11 p.m. Thursday evening. Now, our in-house model here, taken literally, depicts some snow falling in parts of the area, some freezing rain and sleet in other places. I suspect the warm nose is going to be a little more aggressive than this, and so I bet by 11 o'clock most of our TV viewing area is seeing mostly not snow. In other words, sleet and freezing rain. Now, as we go into Friday morning and this low tracks just to our east, the atmosphere will start to cool down. At the start of the day Friday, there might still be some leftover raindrops, sleet pellets, little wintry mix, but then we should see not much more than a few flurries and snow showers for the rest of the day on Friday, and temperatures will start trending downwards. Again, I'm not expecting this to be a big snow event for our area, especially in areas south of Interstate 80. Here's a look at our computer models for kind of the middle of our viewing area. Think of this as Warren to Girard and Niles down to Youngstown and down to the 224 corridor and maybe even down to Columbia and Salem. We have a couple of models that are trying to show 3 slushy inches, but I favor the lower amounts, closer to what the NAM has. In a lot of these situations, the NAM does better with warm air aloft. It's more aggressive with it, and it tends to be right more often than not when it comes to being aggressive with the above freezing air aloft. So I think, the NAM has its faults, certainly. There are a great many of them. But one thing it's a little bit better at than some of the other modeling, most of the time, not every time, but most of the time, is these freezing rain and sleet situations in correctly getting the warm nose as far north as it ultimately ends up going. So here's what I've done with the snow forecast. Now, up towards Route 87 in northern Trumbull County, Kinsman, Gustavus, over to Southington, maybe as far south as Southington, but especially up towards Mesopotamia, Bloomfield, and up into the Andover area, up towards Ashtabula County. Could someone get a couple of inches in that zone? Yeah. But I think your odds of seeing more than a slushy inch really go down fast once you're down closer to I-80 and especially south of there, I doubt we see any snow accumulation in some places like East Liverpool and Salineville and Wellsville and Hanoverton maybe. But once you're up north of Route 30 especially, and closer to maybe Salem and Columbiana, the 224 corridor, could you get a small accumulation of snow? I can't rule that out, but I'm not going to harp on the snow being a big deal. I think the bigger deal is going to be the sleet and freezing rain. Here's what we think as far as the sleet and freezing rain accretion. A good average, I think, in our viewing area will be about 1/10 to maybe 2/10 of an inch, and maybe at the top end of the range of possibilities, 1/4 of an inch. In some places, this won't be as much freezing rain as we had a couple of weeks ago. Some places had more than 1/4 of an inch with our storm now almost 3 weeks ago. We probably won't see those lofty numbers, but I could see where a lot of us get at least 1/10, if not 2/10 of an inch, close to 1/4 of an inch. Best chance for more than 1/4 of an inch will probably be east of I-79, out into central PA, closer to DuBois and Clearfield, and then down into the higher terrain of the Laurel Highlands, between Pittsburgh and Altoona, over towards Johnstown, PA. So anyone traveling Thursday night into early Friday along the PA Turnpike in some of that hilly terrain, well east of Pittsburgh and out towards Breezewood, places like that, that's where the icing is probably going to be worst. And also I-80 could be pretty tricky Thursday night, early Friday. Again, out towards DuBois and especially towards Clearfield, not quite to State College and Bellefonte, but kind of in that real hilly high terrain along I-80. So impacts when we talk about 1/10 of an inch to 2/10 of an inch up to 1/4 of an inch of ice. Certainly bridges and overpasses can be slippery first before those other surfaces. Those elevated surfaces cool off fastest. If your car's sitting out all evening and then you get in it, whether it be Thursday evening or Friday morning, you're probably going to be scraping ice off of your windshield. Is this enough ice to cause tree limbs to sag and power outages and that sort of thing? At this point, I think that's unlikely, but can't be ruled out. I think we're kind of in that, a little more in that nuisance zone, but certainly if you have to travel Thursday evening, overnight Thursday night, even first thing Friday morning, be ready for things to be a little bit slower and more slippery than usual, especially on anything untreated. Then things calm down for the weekend. It's going to be cold, 32 Saturday with an increase in sun. Next little cold front comes our way Sunday with a chance for some afternoon flurries. Don't think that's a big deal. And then early next week, temperatures should start to recover. And actually, while it's not a warm pattern, there are signs that late next week, towards the first weekend of March, the cold will relax some, and we might even squeeze out a couple of 50-degree days. We're going to have spring fever and 65 and 70. Probably not. But in the midst of a pretty cold-looking medium-range pattern, we may get a little respite, it looks like, here in the medium range towards that first weekend of March. All right, again, lots to keep track of. We are your source for the most detailed weather information on the Storm Tracker 21 app on all of our social media outlets. There's all my stuff at the bottom. Follow the Storm Tracker accounts as well on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. And we'll get you through yet another winter storm. Seems like we've had about one a week for about a month or 5 weeks now. Hopefully things will start to calm down heading into March. That's it for me tonight. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.